Hi, welcome to VYAPT Growth Series Season 3, Episode 21. In our growth series today, we have with us Mr. Navneet Bansal, CEO of JSW Global Business Solutions. Navneet is an exceptional leader with over 25 years of diverse industry exposure in consulting, technology, steel. We'll know more from him as we move forward. Join me to welcome Mr. Navneet Bansal.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Pankaj. And
Namaskar.
Namaskar. And before we start, I must congratulate you. I think you have created a great platform for knowledge sharing. I know it's not easy. Uh, it's difficult to, you know, uh, keep doing research and keep sharing that knowledge. So incredible. Thank you. And
Thank
thank
you.
you for having me.
Thank you so much, Nonit, for this kind words. And I know you are an exceptional leader. And thank you for joining us on our platform. I start with my first curiosity. And my first curiosity is what growth strategies have been most effective in establishing a global capability center in India?
Okay. So before I jump into the answer, I'm not too sure what is the composition of your audience. So just to set the context, when we say global capability centers, this is not the only term which is used for this business model. There are various other terms also being used, like global shared services, global outsourcing services, etc., etc. So
Mm-hmm.
GCC is only one of those terminologies, but it all means same.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you ask this question that what growth strategies have been most effective
Mm-hmm.
in establishing a GCC in India,
Mm-hmm.
I split that question into two parts. What is the growth strategy for establishing a GCC, number one,
Mm-hmm.
and what growth strategy to establish a GCC in India in particular?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because India is not the only location globally where GCCs are existing. So, to come to the first question as to what is the effective growth strategy to establish a GCC, I think
Mm-hmm.
three or four. But for majority of global companies who are looking at establishing their own captive GCC, strategic location is the topmost. And how companies choose their location, typically they look at the cost effectiveness. The location should provide cost advantages. It should be able to provide good talent. Source
Mm-hmm.
of talent is immensely important. And of course, a favorable business environment. And when I say favorable business environment, it means, and it also includes government policies supporting this kind of business model. So, identifying the right location is, in my view, the topmost effective strategy. And second would be talent, because this industry is all about people. Our plant and machinery is all about people and their skills. So, availability of skills, availability of talent acquisition, available capability to improve and develop that talent is, I think, the next most important uh, driver for growth. Third is leveraging tech and innovation. I think among all industries, GCC is one industry where every day we are evolving and we are using new technologies. So before you establish a GCC, you should have a very, very clear roadmap as to how you want to leverage the available uh, new technology which is available in the market. Otherwise, you will run a risk of getting outdated very, very soon. And I think there are many more, but yeah, another thing would be maybe you need to have a global operating model. You cannot create a GCC only keeping one country or one location in mind, because as businesses grow, as businesses becomes multinationals, this GCC or capability center should have a capability and ability to serve multiple countries and multiple regions. So I think
True.
these in my view are the primary growth drivers. But when we talk of specific India, is India also a big driver in terms of driving growth strategy? Yes, choosing India as a location itself is a good growth strategy in my view. And why I say this? Today we have close to 1700 to 1800 GCCs in India.
Mm-hmm.
We are we are employing almost 1.9 million people.
Mm-hmm.
We have uh, we are generating around 64 $65 billion revenue every year. So
Mm-hmm.
after manufacturing, probably GCC or shared services is the second largest employer and revenue generator in India when it comes to industry. So when you are entering such a large market, that itself gives an assurance that yes, you are taking the first right step in terms of choosing the right location.
True.
And clearly, India is a hub of technology. We provide technology to the entire world. We have a very, very good talent pool available. We are not available only in one or two cities, unlike many more countries. We have
Mm-hmm.
close to more than a dozen cities where GCCs are running. So
Mm-hmm.
clearly, India is a very good place to start and set up a GCC for any company wherever their headquarters exist, be it Asia, Europe, or Americas.
No
So
need you
that would
just
be my
talked
initial.
about and Yeah, no need you just talked about and educated us around the GCCs and various connotations around GCC. Some of the fabulous numbers around 17 to 100, 1800 GCC in number, 1.9 million people getting employment and so on and so forth. And you talked about around $65 billion is the kind of revenue getting generated because of these GCCs. And I'm sure
Mhm.
this revenue is going to increase in years to come as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. So couple of industry reports suggest that by 2030, which is
Mm-hmm.
hardly 5 years from now, this
Mm-hmm.
1700 number would touch almost 2800. So we'll have around 2800 GCCs. In this year itself, we have opened around 120 new GCCs in India till now, from January till December. And by 2030, we plan to touch around 2800.
So,
$64 billion exports will become $100 billion plus. 1.9 million jobs will become 2.5 million jobs. So clearly, this industry is growing at a very, very fast pace in India.
Nonit, taking your number into account, what it means is virtually we are, opening one GCC in every 2 days.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
absolutely,
a fabulous number.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's a fabulous number. So you talked about the growth of the GCC business in India, and I'm sure the size of business and the kind of jobs opportunity it's creating in humongous. But when you talk around driving sustainable business growth, and this model I think is going to be one of the smart movers in the industry. So when you talk around driving sustainable business growth, are there any emerging trends or areas of focus you would like to let's say talk on, or which is going to drive the business forward? And one more question which people generally have in mind is the GCC model only for larger companies and this is not for smaller organization, or how is it? Like, if you could share your thoughts around it, please.
yeah. So let me answer the second question first because that might be a smaller answer. So no,
Yeah.
so GCC is not meant for larger organizations only. In fact,
Okay.
last week I was in Bangalore attending a industry conference,
Mm-hmm.
and I met a gentleman there whose company is a US based company, and they
Mm-hmm.
have started their GCC brand new in Chennai
Okay.
with 18 people, 1 8.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it is not that okay, once you have a sizable number, then only it makes sense to open GCC. You can always start small,
Mm-hmm.
and then as your business demand grows, you can keep on adding people and technologies there. Yeah. Now
Okay.
coming back to your first question, see,
Mm-hmm.
sustainability and sustainable businesses. These are
Mm-hmm.
the much talked about terms these days.
Yeah.
But when it comes to sustainability, a lot of people talk about y- green technologies being used, like green fuel, green technology, etc. And then there is a term which is being very widely used these days is circular economy.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of manufacturing companies and consumers are now moving from take, make, dispose
Mm-hmm.
methodology to more of a circular economy wherein the same material or a same service can be reused, can be refurbished, can be repaired rather than just buying it and throwing it.
True.
But when we talk about GCC, since we do not manufacture anything, our
Mm-hmm.
assets are people, our assets are computers, our assets are technology. So we
Mm-hmm.
need to look at sustainability or sustainable business growth from services standpoint. Now, here also we use circular economy very, very aggressively. We do
Mm-hmm.
not dispose our material, but we definitely reuse our computers. We definitely reuse our talent. This is one industry where probably we have the fastest turnaround of people getting upskilled and getting differently skilled. L&D runs 24 by 7. We keep on educating people, we keep on upskilling people almost every day. We have a target of how many man days of training we provide to every individual in the organization. That's one of the KRA of our HR,
Mm-hmm.
of our organization. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the same concepts which manufacturing industry uses
Mm-hmm.
for sustainable businesses, the same concepts are being used in service industry as well. On top of that, GCCs and shared services are, as I mentioned earlier, also is one of those leading industries who uses technology at a very, very, very fast pace.
Mm-hmm.
Any AI, any ML, any new technology which comes typically starts from a GCC or an outsourcing company. Outsourcing companies are the first to adopt latest technologies for their clients.
True.
And we use such technology, lesser pressure we put on our environment. So yeah, so in a way, GCCs are also contributing enough on sustainability. But when we talk about GCC's sustainable growth, what are the key drivers for a GCC to be sustainable in their business? uh, I would suggest there are two three things which needs to be considered. One is GCCs needs to be scalable. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot just open a GCC with one set of talent and one set of technology and assume that it will continue to run for next 10 years. It's not going to happen. World is changing so fast. GCCs needs to get evolved and transform almost every month or every other month. So a plug and play model is the first and most effective strategy a
Mm-hmm.
GCC should deploy, because you never know what your parent company would acquire a new business and when they would expand a new line of business. So your GCC or shared service should be capable to adapt to all those changes which happens very, very soon.
Okay.
So for sustainable growth, you need to take care of your talent, you need to adopt, deploy new technology, and you need to create a plug and play model which which is not affected by change of seasons, or which is not affected by small uh, here and there things happening in economy.
Okay. So,
So
yeah, yeah, please.
no, and last point probably I would say is that when GCCs were started around 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
the buzzword was standardization. Work used to come from 20 different locations and got centralized in one location, and it was expected that it will provide a standard processes, standard output. And this particular theory continued for last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But now customers are actually expecting not standard output, but customized output.
Okay.
So if I am servicing 15 different companies,
Mm-hmm.
I need to be flexible enough to provide 15 different experiences which suits them. I cannot say anymore that I have the standard way of doing things, take it or leave it. So customer centricity is also becoming a new fab or a new talk word in the industry.
So in a way, all these businesses primarily becomes your customers, direct customers for you.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay. And you
And
talk.
we are actually business agnostic. Whether someone is manufacturing steel or someone is manufacturing cement or someone is aviation industry or someone is oil industry, GCCs typically can cater to all of them sitting under one roof.
That's so wonderful. Now, need to hear from you around the sustainable business the GCC is adopting. My next question is around more to do with the innovation part of it. Looking at the diverse market you cater to, how crucial is it becomes the localization of product and services, and what are the employment getting generated by this. You just put on one number. I wanted to, if you can, dive a little deeper into it and talk about, what is the capability of the GCCs in driving the numbers, and is it only the direct employment GCC is catering to, or there are a lot of indirect employment also happens because of the GCCs getting, a lot of GCCs getting, built in India?
Yeah, no, good question. So, irrespective which global client this GCC is servicing,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I don't think any GCC can survive without taking extensive help and use of local products and local talent and people. Otherwise, it will not be cost effective and you will
Mm-hmm.
not be able to survive for too long.
Okay.
So when we open a GCC, typically someone is sitting in US and trying to open a GCC. Only two or three cities in India come to their mind. Maybe Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Mumbai to
Mm-hmm.
some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But reality is that now more than 20 cities in India have GCCs. Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities are coming up so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Companies are opening their second center and third center in these cities just to tap the immense talent which is available. And if you are spreading your footprint like this, clearly you would need to have a dependency on local products and local people.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's say if I go to Chandigarh, or let's say if I go to Indore or any
Mm-hmm.
other city, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot always import talent from Mumbai and Hyderabad and Bangalore. Then it will not be sustainable. So,
True.
how do you find the talent locally? And if the talent is not readily available, how do you groom them? Then comes the L&D part and training part. So then the ancillary industry who are good in providing trainings and who are good in upskilling people starts opening their shops in cities like Chandigarh and Indore and
Mm-hmm.
GCC services.
Mm-hmm.
Second, you need a lot of housekeeping staff. You need a
True.
lot of catering staff. You need a lot of transportation to deploy and people. You need a lot of housing. So
Mm-hmm.
all these industries, because GCCs typically are big centers,
Mm-hmm.
where you deploy hundreds and thousands of employees. So when you are creating that kind of ecosystem, you need to, when you are opening that kind of GCC, you need to have an ecosystem providing housing, providing schooling, providing housekeeping, providing transport, and all of that.
True.
So direct employment might be only 1,000 direct employees, but parallelly we are also creating 10,000 additional jobs and employments in this ecosystem to
Mm-hmm.
support one GCC. Yeah, so extremely important. And second is once we open a center, and thanks to some of the government policies, we end up supporting our local neighborhood through CSR activities. Yeah, I mean, in my company, for example, our HR runs a fabulous program called Dan Utsav. It's a
Mm-hmm.
donation utsav, wherein
Mm-hmm.
once a year we encourage all our employees to bring anything, food, grains, money, anything they want, and we
Mm-hmm.
pick up one neighboring village or one neighboring neighborhood and go and distribute those things to those folks. We adopt local school and one government school, and we try
Mm-hmm.
to make that the model school in that area by providing them training, equipment, making their building little right, providing them furniture, fixture, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
local environment gets immensely positively affected when you open a big center or a GCC like a setup in India. So to your point, yes, local environment does get affected both ways. GCC takes help of local environment, and local community also gets uh, advantage advantage by mere fact that such a big center has come up in their neighborhood.
That's a wonderful initiative, Navneet, which you talked about Dan Utsav from your organization, which is helping nearby villages and the village people to grow further. And you also talked around that it's not just the numbers of direct employment, but a lot of indirect employment gets created by it. And that's a fabulous number of 2.5 million people getting employed in the GCCs by 2030. That's an estimation which we are making. But
And
you know
that's
that
and that's a direct employment. That's only a direct employment I'm talking.
that's only a direct employment, and there is a lot of indirect
Yeah,
employment would also be coming up. That's so wonderful coming from you, Navneet, and thank you for educating us more from the GCC point of view, and also the kind of narrative which is seen. So I think this particular sector remains as one of the biggest sector of employment in coming years time, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You're right.
Fair enough. So after this, we move on to our next round, and we call it as a flip round, wherein a host becomes guest and the guest becomes host. So one question coming to you has to be answered in 30 seconds time by me.
Wow. Okay. No, I think let me ask a very straight question, Pankaj. You are in the business of consulting.
Yeah.
While all the government policies are getting transformed and so much is happening in India and abroad, how do you see this consulting business uh, happening in future? Like, what are the growth prospects? What changes we foresee in your kind of business?
Um, well, when you talk around the consulting business, we have been seeing that even in India, there have been more of the foreign players in India, doing consulting, business.
Yeah.
But over the time, what we have seen in last 1 decade, there is, the be it government sector or the private sector, they're accepting Indian consulting businesses primarily into the strategy and implementation domain. That's one thing which has happened. The second important part, it's nowhere now the consulting firms would be limited only to the strategy part, making a strategy basis on the factors, be it inherent and outside, so external and internal factors put together and giving a strategy. It's now more about implementing those strategy as well, so we win together. That is the kind of format what organizations are looking at. So that's the second change which we are going to see. Third important change which we're going to see is primarily, is specific to the country. That, for example, a consulting firm which has an understanding about more understanding around the product and services and the behavior, the demographics of a country, and how a particular company can leverage those demographics in building up a better customer base, utilizing its services and products to take the company for the next level of growth. I think these are the three different aspects of the changes and the growth of consulting industry which we've been seeing in the past and we continue to see in the next 1 decade as well.
Yeah, very true. No, thanks. Because sitting on this side of the table, I can visualize that now days are gone where consultants come and only show PPT and give consulting and go back. We expect them to be a little more realistic, practical, and take ownership of implementing some of their strategies as well, and not only
Yes,
give gyan and go back. So yeah,
correct,
very
correct,
well.
sir. So that is the model is changing fast, and I'm sure it is catching up with the consulting companies as well.
Sure.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Navneet, for asking this question. And now we move on to our next round, which we call learning on the go. So Navneet, you have been a seasoned leader into technology, have been into consulting, and now into GCC, part of steel. And other things. Would like to know from you, Navneet. Can you narrate an incident or maybe a couple of incidences which has been a source of incredible learning for you? I'm sure you must have learned a lot from your let's say family, mentors, colleagues, or otherwise. So some things which you can share with us, which would help our viewers to understand a little more about the kind of learnings you got.
Yeah, I mean, uh, really difficult to find out one or two incidences because 25 years of journey, every day you learn.
True.
But yeah, I mean, couple of things which stuck with you, which stick with you. See, Narayan Murthy,
Yeah.
everyone knows him, Infosys founder.
Mm-hmm.
He long back he gave a quote
Mm-hmm.
which suggests that never love your company. You don't know when your company stops loving you. And when I was growing in my career, I never used to appreciate this. That what does this gentleman wants to say? We used to
Mm-hmm.
laugh off and split. But when a real instance happened with me, then I realized the importance of that statement.
Mm-hmm.
So in one of my earlier jobs, I was given responsibility to set up a new GCC for a global player in India.
Okay.
So we spent 2.5 years I was the first hire. We created a GCC which ramped up to around 750 plus people. Everything was
Mhm.
doing hunky dory. And one day that company was acquired by another big giant,
Mhm.
and they decided to scale down this entire GCC which we created.
Mhm.
So we moved from zero to 700, and then next 1.5 year we again moved to from 700 to zero back.
Okay.
That time I realized that you never know what's happening in the corporate world and how things will change. You
Mhm.
typically get passionate when you are part of that journey where you are creating a particular center and creating that capability, and suddenly you see that okay, someone else is taking away that entire facility in front
Mhm.
of you. So you tend to get emotional, you tend to get little nervous,
Mhm.
and that particular experience actually, then I understood what Narayan Murthy actually meant, that
Mhm.
you keep doing hard work, keep working, but never get too attached with your own creation. Uh, Life goes on, and you should also move on with life. So things will go, things will come. You keep doing hard work, but never get go too much emotionally attached. And I think
That's
that
that,
learning has stuck with me.
that's also to do with a sense of detachment, so that you keep on creating things, one thing after the other, and then the third, and then the fourth. Is it?
Correct, correct. Don't get stuck with one thing forever or for too long.
Yeah. Navneet, just to add one more question to you. You just talked about, one learning which you get, but a question to you. You have been very humble. But if our team has done a lot of research around you before inviting you in VYAPT Growth Series. You remain a lot humble, gentleman, humble leader, throughout. So does it has a lot of things to do with the kind of upbringing you have, more of, mentors, colleagues who have given a kind of knowledge or shared knowledge, which has helped you to become what you are today, or how is it like?
No, okay. Thanks for this compliment. Good to hear. But I think yeah, it's all about family upbringing. We all come from small, lower middle class family, grown up in a small town and city. Just because over a period of time we have been a little bit more successful, that
Mhm.
entire upbringing and values which you get from your parents and your family doesn't go away. I think that's it. Otherwise, there is no rocket science in behaving in a particular fashion. This is how I've been taught to behave.
Fair,
So,
fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Navneet. For sharing your views around GCCs in India and some of the personal talks we just did. It was really a delight having you on our platform, and hope to see you soon once again. Thank you
sure,
so
my
much
pleasure. And
for being
thank
a
you very
part
much
of our.
again. Yeah, thank you.